there, YouTube friends. I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead, and today we're going to go ahead and have a quick discussion about how herbalists are different than medical doctors and also how herbs are different than drugs. I was actually getting ready to make a quick massage oil with some roses and vanilla to get ready for Valentine's Day, so stay tuned for that video. It's coming up. But I wanted to really talk about this. It's been on my heart because recently I had an experience where I had a man ask me what an herbalist is and does, and he thought that I was talking about recreational marijuana. I did a video about that. I'll link to it above so you can just go through that one and get my thoughts on that. But today we are going to talk about how herbalists and taking herbs and using medicinal herbs are very, very different than going to see a medical doctor and taking a drug. So number one, the first thing I want to mention is training. Medical doctors go through many, many years of training at a college, at a university, and then internships. They learn very, very deeply about the science of the human body. So that's a pretty amazing. In fact, my daughter, my youngest child, is right now in her second year of medical school, a very, very good medical school. And she's learning about all these things right now. And we have some really great discussions. But training is, for medical doctors, is very, very intense. And it's over a very, very long term. And it's very serious. And then let's talk about herbal training. So a person can call themselves an herbalist even if they have had very little training, which is unfortunate. Herbalism is not regulated in the United States, where a medical doctor has to take a board exam and be governmentally approved. An herbalist does not. So you could have a person who's trained by their grandmother call themselves an herbalist, and it's perfectly fine, and it is. And there are very wonderful, skilled herbalists out there who don't have any official training. Then there are people who go to school, and they do have colleges, kind of in quotes there, for herbal training. They don't have that many here in the United States, but it is a big thing over in Europe, where people can actually get a medical herbalist certification or a degree. Here in the US, it's a little bit different. It's kind of a free-for-all, to be honest, which is, I think it's kind of a good thing, because once the government starts regulating something, then, all of a sudden there are things we can and can't do or say, certain plants that maybe can't be used. There's going to be restrictions. Right now, it's really up to all of us to be responsible for our health. But I'm getting off track here. Let's talk about herbal training for a moment. So I just noted that there are different kinds of training for herbalists. There's self-study, there's going to school, there's taking courses either online or in person. There's interning with other herbalists who have lots of experience. And there are different ways to gather the information. The best way to become an herbalist, in my opinion, is if you cannot go to an actual school in person, then take courses online and do self-study. But the biggest thing you can do is to experience the plants. Literally start working with the plants, start making herbal preparations and products, and know how they start working on your body. So that's what the first way you can do. So anyway, training is huge. There's a huge difference between an herbalist training and a medical doctor's training. Number two, let's talk about how an herbalist works with people versus how a medical doctor works with people. So in our country, herbalism is technically illegal as a medical type of practice or as an alternative healthcare modality. Aromatherapy is not, by the way, but herbalism is technically. So that's why herbalists are very, very careful to speak in non-medical terms. We don't use words like cure, treat, prevent, diagnose, any of those kinds of words, because we're not allowed to. And therefore, we don't also give medical advice. So you might find an herbalist speaking in shady kinds of terms like, this herb will support the respiratory system. We can't say that herb is going to get in there and literally help you get rid of your cough naturally while also helping support the body in its natural healing process. We don't say You say some of that, but not all. The words are just kind of automatic to me now. So we can't say that that herb is going to cure your bronchitis. It's not going to, we don't ever say that. If you ever hear an herbalist who calls him or herself an herbalist, use the word cure, red flag, okay? Herbalists do not work with patients. We work with clients. We talk a lot about lifestyle and even our emotions. We look at the whole entire body as a whole, like your emotions, your spirit, your body. It's all one thing. Where medical doctors tend to diagnose based on a group of symptoms or presentations, and then they provide a drug, or they prescribe a drug, and that drug is simply usually meant to cover the symptom. And doctors work with patients, not clients. I want to mention this too. A good herbalist is sitting down at a consultation, and this is a consultation, is what we call it. They're going to ask about your lifestyle. Doctors don't necessarily ask about lifestyle. Sometimes they do, but they don't really get, this is my experience with medical doctors, they don't tend to get into depth with it because they don't have time. They have so many patients that they're seeing. So for them, it's just a matter of, okay, what's going on? Here's a pill, bye. Yeah. When you're working with an herbalist, you're going to get a lot of in-depth questioning and a discussion, and then some suggestions based on your own body that might work for you. Emotional health. A lot of doctors will not even ask you about your stress levels or what's going on with your emotions, whereas herbalists dig deep into that, because at this point we all know how the stress response can affect our overall health. So anyway, those are just a few of the differences about how herbalists work with people versus how a medical doctor works with a person. Okay, let's go into the kinds of advice that an herbalist can give versus a medical doctor. So we all know we go to the doctor, and a medical doctor prescribes a drug, generally speaking, okay? So they take a look at the symptoms, they prescribe a drug, and there you go. An herbalist makes suggestions. So an herbalist is going to say, hey, based on your constitution and your energetics and the issue that you're having, we want to bring your body back into a state of balance, and these herbs and essential oils might help with that. Notice I'm not saying they're going to heal you. They might help with that. And I'm going to suggest that you try, whatever the protocol is that the herbalist comes up with. Now let's talk about herbs versus drugs for a moment. Very, very different. So first of all, let's talk about how they're made. Herbs are made by God. All right, they are. God put the medicinal and food plants on this earth for us. So God made the medicinal plants. We just need to know how to use them. Versus drugs. Drugs are synthetically made in a lab. And what big pharmaceutical companies, and I'm going to simplify this, it's very complex, but what they generally do is they will figure out what the active ingredient in a medicinal plant is, and they will isolate that ingredient, and then they will create a pill or some kind of a drug that you can take that focuses only on that active ingredient. Whereas a medicinal herb, if you take that medicinal herb into your body, you're getting the whole plant. You're going to have the constituents that God put in that plant to work together synergistically to help support your body. Huge difference between medicinal herbs and drugs. Now, with that said, herbs do and can have drug-like actions, many of them as a matter of fact. However, generally speaking, they're not the same at all. You can't even compare the two. That was a very simplified explanation of herbs versus drugs, but you get my gist. Let's take a look at actions on the body. Let's just dig a little deeper into that. So medicinal herbs can have actions on the body. For example, you might see an herb classified as an analgesic. That's a pain reliever. And then you've got drugs, obviously, like aspirin, analgesic. It's pretty much what it does, right? So let's think about how they both work on the body for just a moment. So willow bark contains this chemical called salicin. And when we ingest willow bark tea or tincture, that salicin has to go through 2 different metabolic processes before it turns into the chemical that causes the pain relief, that gives us some relief from pain. Whereas a drug, aspirin, doesn't go through any metabolic processes in the body. That active ingredient that they've isolated actually goes straight into our gastrointestinal system, the GI tract, ends up in our stomach, and oftentimes for many people causes a lot of pain and side effects. In fact, the very, very first aspirin was worse than the actual problem because it hurt people's stomachs so bad. And then the drug companies got wise and they created, coatings to go around the pills to help out with that and things like that. But and then here's another one I get asked about. You'll hear the term an herb that has antibiotic qualities. Well, that doesn't mean it works like an antibiotic drug, okay? So there's a whole bunch of herbs with different antibiotic qualities, and I can't go into all of them here. So talking about herbal antibiotics, and also I'm just going to throw in herbal antivirals as well. There's a whole lot of different herbs that work on different kinds of infections on the body, and you're going to choose different herbs depending on what the actual infection is and where it's at in the body, instead of where a doctor will just give you an antibiotic like amoxicillin or Keflex or whatever it is, and hope that it works. So you've got your broad-based drugs that just kind of kill everything in the body. Let's talk about really quickly, like the word antibiotic, the root word is biotic or bio, and anti is the prefix. So anti means against and bio means life. Basically, an antibiotic means it's against life. Herbal antibiotics are against certain types of life forms or bacteria, whereas drugs kind of kill everything in your body, okay? They kill the good bacteria and they kill the bad bacteria, and I've had some very, very bad experiences with overuse of antibiotics, but I want to just suggest these two books here for your Herbal Apothecary Resource Library if you like to buy herbal books. These are by Stephen Herod Buhner. Please be careful that you're getting his book, because there's another lady who's written books with the exact same title. It's very easy to order hers instead of his. And you want his, because his are very, very well researched, and he digs into the different herbal classifications and the types of herbs that do what and kill what and how they act. So these are two excellent books I suggest you to get. In the meantime, though, let's just talk about a real quick example. So there's an herb called Goldenseal that's very well known as an antibiotic herb, but that doesn't mean that you take it into your body and it kills everything like a drug will. That's not how it acts. Goldenseal acts more as a topical. If it comes into contact with the infection, if it's bacterial I could go into the different bacteria and all that, but I'm keeping this very, very simple. But it can kill the bacteria in that area, and then your body heals. And so that would include areas like your skin, obviously, your GI tract, obviously, and different areas where the herb can actually touch the mucosal membranes. Whereas an antibiotic, like I just said, a doctor's going to give that to you. It's just going to kill everything, and it's not good for your body. So anyway, that's just a quick rundown of how an herbalist is different than a medical doctor, and just some things to know. It's really good, I think, to go to a medical doctor to get a diagnosis, because at that point you can say, hey, all right, I've got a diagnosis, and you've taken all these tests, and now you can, if you want, you can see an herbalist who might give you suggestions to work with that condition naturally, or you might want to choose to take the drugs that the medical doctor prescribes. It's totally up to you in what you choose to do. One thing I would say is, if you're interested in herbalism, is to just start learning, start building your home apothecary. I know a lot of people who've gone through my herbalism courses who've been able to get off their prescription drugs, as well as any over-the-counter drugs that they're addicted to. And it's such a benefit and a use. The thing is that in our society now, some drugs are getting very, very hard to find. I don't see that improving anytime soon, the way the world is going. And I do believe it's time for you to empower yourself and take your health into more of your own hands. Medical doctors are wonderful helpers, And herbalists can be wonderful helpers too. And the thing is you can be your own herbalist. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead. I have managed to take care of all of my health issues that I've had and gotten into over the years from taking too many prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs. And at this point, I have not had to take any kind of over-the-counter or prescription drug in over 10 years now, and what a blessing it's been in my life. I'm almost 60 years old, and I feel better than I did when I was in my 30s, and I was taking Tylenol PM every night and an energy drink in the morning, and that's just a little slice of it, a little piece of it. All right, I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I am Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead. I hope you enjoyed this quick talk. I know I didn't show you how to make anything today. We will be making this beautiful herbal rose and vanilla massage oil really soon. I hope you'll subscribe so you can get a notification when that comes up. And I will see you in the next video. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.